like a really like city area, and like you go from like a city, go get that cup. Where's that cup at?
Right here.
Okay, go put it in the kitchen. Like when you go from like a really city area to a place like Georgia, like rural Georgia, where it's like nothing but a bunch of white people, it's different. So when he found friends that were black and they just happened to be gang members, it was like, okay, well shit, this is what we're gonna do. Those are not headphones. Go get your headphones. Your headphones in there.
Right, it all depends on your environment.
But see, I think that like people, this is what I feel like. I feel like get out my room. All three of y'all, get out of my room.
Don't pay no
Shakima, all three of them is in here. Can you please get them?
Don't worry, I'll cut that out.
Thank you. Okay, so like I think rap. The reason why I said is that's why I said
Keep going.
Oh, that's why I said I feel like it's a culture, because I feel like rap is I feel like rap glorifies it. Like, if that makes sense. I feel like rap music makes being in a gang and makes gang music fun. I feel like it makes it hype. I feel like it makes it exciting. It's like the thing to do. You have like Chris Brown, who's a blood, and then you have different rappers and celebrities, the gang, who's a blood. Then you have people who are from the East Coast who are Crips, and then you have, people who are involved in gang lifestyle and in gang culture, and it glorifies it. It's like it makes it something fun, something exciting. It's like, okay, this is the thing to do.
On social media, because ain't nothing fun about this. In the real world, when you had no money and you just in a gang and shit like that, that's different. Like, social media, they make it seem like, oh, you gotta do this, you gonna get this, you gonna get that, all of that.
Like, exactly. But that's why I feel like gang life has become a part of the culture. It's like a fad. It's like a thing to do now. Like, oh, you're not cool unless you're in a gang. And it's like, ain't shit cool about that. Like, it's nothing cool. Like, to me, I always thought, like, being in a gang was like, y'all gangbanging over colors.
Girl, they kill each other over colors.
Right. Then I saved the best for last. I wanted to touch on this Tekashi 6ix9ine scandal. That is definitely a dead man walking. And I say that because I want to get at something, and I want to use Tekashi 6ix9ine as a proof point. Tekashi 6ix9ine was your average, everyday, run-of-the-mill person. He had a regular job, he had a baby mama, he had a daughter, and he took his personality and he took it to social media. And when he took his personality to social media, he got some clout. He got a little popular. He was on YouTube, he was popular, whatever. So then he started hanging out with 9K Trey Blood members. And they looked at him and seen money. They looked at him and seen dollar signs. What you can do for me? What do you bring to the table for me? How does this benefit me? And when they did that, I would say, I feel like it's a gimmick. It's let's troll people and let's use gang members to back it up, because I know I'm not going to do it, but I know they will. And I know if I give them the right amount of money, they will. So it's like we're going to culturize being in a gang, because I know that it's a dog-eat-dog world. These people is broke, trying to make something of themselves, and I got millions. And if I got millions, what do people that are broke flock to? Money.
That's the thing. He took trolling to an all-time high. Like, okay, his so-called people, his so-called friends, when he stopped paying them,
he saw what when you stop giving people money, you see what gang life really is.
Right.
They kidnapped you. They kidnapped you. They put a hit out on you. They fucked your baby mama. Like, they did all of these things because this is what real life, real gang members do. This is like, real gang members do not get online and pop off with the next person. Real gang members do not get on social media. They're not going to sit on Instagram Live all day. They're not going to sit on social media and go in the shade room and be talking in your comments. If you a blood and I'm a Crip and you over here and I'm over there and I say, Elaine, fuck your dad homie. Your dad homie ain't shit. Fuck that bitch. Go dig up your baby daddy. If you a real gang member, you're not going to say something back on social media.
That's what I'm saying. Like, when two men argue on live or social media, I think it's just so phony. Because if you're a real gang, you're going to pull up or have people do shit for you.
And I tie all of that back into King Von because I listened to an interview that King Von did on the Jumper podcast where he was asked, how do you feel about 6ix9ine going to O Block? And King Von said that man really didn't go to O Block. He, you know what I'm saying? It's real killers on O Block. He didn't really go to O Block, and I think that shit is funny. And I ain't even finna give him no clout, and I ain't gonna speak on him.
And this is the same man who, when he was in the mall with G Herbo, turned around because he saw G Herbo.
Right, because you got real killers and real people out here who will do something to you. So y'all young people are allowing what you see in rap music. You are allowing what you see in these music videos. You're using what you see on social media to dictate what you do in real life. And the purpose of this podcast was to say that you have gang members who are actually perpetuating a cycle of violence, who are actually the sons, grandsons, great-grandsons of real gang members. These are actual real life, real street men who grew up in projects, who grew up in housing developments, who grew up in the hood, who grew up in the trenches, and is really about that life. And then you have people who, on this hand, who seen it on social media, who saw it, thought it was a fad, who saw it and thought it was fun, who saw it and said, let me get clout off of it, and let me go antagonize a bunch of people because it's funny. It's nothing funny about this.
I mean,
it's,
you could be in any gang on social media.
But it's real life people being affected by things that these people are doing. Look at Asian Doll. Look at King Von's other two baby mamas. Look at all of the people who are impacted by this young man's death.
Look at all the females who lost a loved one due to gang violence or
gun violence in general. My father was murdered. So, you know what I'm saying? Although my father was murdered by a police officer, it's still gun violence no matter how you look at it. It's people losing. How many mothers gotta bury their fucking sons? They daughters because of gun violence. Just here in Atlanta, I think 2 weeks ago or a week ago, or I think like matter of fact, it was a couple days before Christmas because the baby actually died a day after Christmas. But a couple days before Christmas, a 7-year-old child was murdered in Atlanta at Phillips Plaza at the fucking mall with her mom and her grandmother because she was hit by a stray bullet from some niggas arguing. Like, these are our babies. When do we stop the violence as a culture? And it takes more than just the women. It takes the men to step in and make a difference. It takes the men to step in and say, I'm not going to do this. One thing I have a major respect for my kid's father is he say all the time, like, my son ain't never going to be in no gang. My son ain't never going to be in no gang. And my son's father is in a gang. And for him to come to me and, like, he tell me all the time, like, I'm never going to let my son join the gang. Like, I'm always make sure my son stay away from that. Like, to me, that shows that we're breaking that cycle. He also got to be on that same path. My thing is he can't be a hypocrite. Because, yet again, your son's only 2 years old. So, of course, he's, you raising him. He's raising him, but you're mainly doing most of the work. So, he going to be good. He going to be in good hands. But, if he sees his father doing gang activity and all that other shit, it's like, he going to look at it as, oh, my dad did this, so I can't do it. Even though his dad is telling him, you don't do this, don't do that. And it's happened. Do as I say, not as I do. That's the number one rule as a parent. Do as I say, not as I do. Because we don't always get it right as parents. I think that my son in Travis's situation, let me stop calling him that. In Travis's situation, I do say that I understand. At one point, we had an agreement. We had an understanding that, he was going to do something. But it's not as easy as we would like for it to be because of his circumstances, because of his situation. So I don't really ride him too hard. But I think that his life and his circumstances that he's in right now, it has taught him so much about being a man. And it's like, these are the things I don't want for my son. So for him to come to me and say, I don't never want my son to end up like me. I don't never want my son to end up in prison. I don't never want my son to be in a gang. I don't never want to have to bury my son. I don't never want to have to, worry about my son shooting somebody or killing somebody. Like, I don't want that for my son. I want better for my son. That spoke volumes to me because it showed me that as a black man who, one, went to prison at a very early age, had a very rough childhood, noticed a cycle. And that's what it's all about, is noticing the cycle. And knowing when to say, I want to break this cycle. And that's where it starts. It starts with identifying that, yes, there is a problem. And it starts with identifying that we cannot do this. We as a culture cannot do this. We as a society cannot say that this is okay. It's way too many rappers perpetuating gang life. And it's way too many people getting involved in real life gangs off of social media because of the clout that social media brings to gang violence. And it amazes me. So, what's your final thoughts on it? What do you want to leave people with this podcast?
I want people to come together as a culture, as society, because I feel as though if you tell people to put guns down or get rid of guns, they're not going to listen at all. People need to start loving one another. These social media beefs is getting way out of hand. These probably people you're never going to see in real life a day in life at all.
Right.
So, and for the people who is instigating the beefs, getting these people killed, they need to get a life too.
Right.
Because a lot of these so-called fans be instigating these beefs with these rappers, and then one gets killed, and then a couple weeks later the other one gets killed. Like you said, it's a cycle. It's not going to stop. Dumpton had died. Bondon had died. It's all about who's going to be that person that's going to step in and be like, enough is enough. Stop. We're not going to do that.
Right.
Because with Ron, yeah, all those people, but not one person pulled him back and said, don't do that stupid shit.
Right. That is very true.
We need to learn how to love each other.
I will say that I will say that to leave this podcast, I said this in a previous podcast when I did my show about the Black Lives Matter movement. You see a lot of like young people. I think that like the young generation is going to be what brings on and brings forth a lot of change, especially when you see how young people have come together, especially in uniting cultures. Like I have seen so many young people say that I don't care if you black, white, blue, purple, green, who you is. I love you just because you. And I think that says a lot because you're racist and your people who see people of color is your older generations. Your, you know what I'm saying, your 80s, your 70s, your 60s. But when you start getting into like these 25 and younger, these millennials, I really think that that's where the change is going to come in at. Because they don't see, oh, you poor, oh, you rich, oh, you broke, oh, you not. Like these millennials, like they're going to be the generation to come together. They voted in mass numbers. When you look at the voting trends over the past couple of elections, when you look at the way society has trended, when things happen like George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, when you have the Breonna Taylors and the the shootings and the deaths that have happened, you see young people coming out in record numbers. And I want to see that momentum continue. I want to see that momentum continue in the sense that we got to break these cycles, break these chains. You have, you know what I'm saying, your marriage rates are going